So you want to shoot film? Well, you've come to the right place. Film photography has had what can only be described as a humongous resurgence in popularity over the past 5 to 10 years, with local camera shops popping up all over the place and the rise in popularity of mail-in film processing. Shooting film is now easier than ever. You can be involved for as little or as much of the process as you want. I prefer to be very involved in the process, which is why I scan my own negatives at home, but you don't even have to do that. You can send them off to a mail-in film lab and get your scans emailed to you in a few business days. I have to say, one of the big allures to film photography is the film community. I have yet to meet a rude or mean film photographer. Everyone seems to be so nice and helpful, and everybody just wants everyone else to succeed. Whereas if you go to any YouTube channel, any YouTube video that talks about one of the 3 major camera brands, there are definitely wars going on in the comments. First, I want to get some terminology out of the way for maybe photographers that are new. I'm making these definitions very accessible. It's not meant to be an exhaustive list of definitions, just information you need to know to get started. Film. It's a roll of light-sensitive material that, when exposed to light through a camera, gives you an image. 35mm. This is the sizing of film that we're going to be using. It's readily available. You can find rolls that are really cheap, and you get 36 shots per roll. Film lead. It's that little flappy bit that sticks out of new rolls. Developing is a chemical process that makes your film not sensitive to light anymore. Processing is a blanket term that involves developing, printing, and or scanning. And negatives is what you call the film after it's out of the roll and processed by the chemicals. Now, let's talk about cameras. It's probably the most fun you're going to have when shopping around for film equipment is searching and finding good deals on old cameras. Now, this camera is the one I would recommend if you are just starting out and you just want to shoot film and not fuss around with settings. It's the Harman reusable camera. I've done an entire video on this camera, actually multiple videos on this camera, and why I love it so much. So if you're curious about this camera, be sure to check out those videos. But basically, it is a reusable camera in the style of those disposable cameras that you used to get in CVS that you would send off to be developed and then just throw away. This is much more environmentally friendly. Plus, you get everything in the box that you need to make the camera work. You get the camera, you get a battery for the flash that's built in, 2 rolls of film, and a wrist strap. All that for 29 bucks. You can't really go wrong with it. The only thing is that since you can't adjust the settings, they are already preset for you. You basically don't want to shoot this camera outside of bright sunny days. You don't want to shoot it before sunrise or after sunset. There just isn't enough light for it. But if your adventures you want to capture on film are outdoors and when it's bright, then this will be perfect for you to just get started. Moving on, let's say you have some camera experience. Maybe you're slightly familiar with manual settings, but you still want some automatic features. I think you should go with any of the Minolta Maxim lines. These are newer film cameras. Newer is relative, I guess, but new-ish film cameras that come with autofocus. They have built-in automatic modes. They're pretty well built. The plastic can get a little dry and cracky over time, but overall these are very solid cameras that I recommend to anybody. As long as you can find one with a lens and a body in one kit, I say go for it. They're usually pretty cheap. Maybe you're a more experienced shooter and you want to dip your toe in the wonderful world of rangefinder style cameras. You cannot go wrong with the Canon Canonet QL17 G3. It's a huge name, but this camera packs a punch and I love it. 1.7 lens, 40mm, fully manual. It does have an automatic mode, but it's very common for it not to work in these cameras, as well as the built-in light meter almost never works in these cameras either. So you're either going to be manually metering with an external meter or with an app on your phone. I prefer Lightmate if you are going to use your iPhone. Regardless of what camera you get, what's cool about film photography is it all can use the same film. Whereas with digital cameras, if you get an older camera, the sensor technology isn't going to be as good, the megapixels aren't going to be as high. Film is film is film, and since we're all going to be shooting 35mm film, it really doesn't matter what camera you get, at least in the beginning. There are $3,000 Leica bodies out there that still are going to be shooting the exact same film as you in this $29 reusable camera. That's what's so cool. It's all a level playing field. As far as film goes, I would recommend Fujicolor 200. It's my favorite color film. It's also one of the cheapest color films you can get. It's even available at some Walmarts, which is crazy. And if you want to shoot black and white, then I definitely recommend Ilford XP2 Super. It's a black and white film that can be developed as if it was color film, which will make your turnaround time a lot faster. And there you go. You've shot your first roll of film. Now, what do? Well, if you are going to mail in your roll, then go through their website and do that process. I personally haven't done that, so I don't really know the ins and outs of that process. But if you have a local camera shop near you, walk into the store with your little film canister, hand it to one of the store attendants and say, look, this is my first time shooting films, my first time even in a camera shop. I need this developed. They'll take the film canister, take a look at it, and then from there they may ask you if you want scans. You'll say yes, and if they ask you what quality of scans, you'll say medium. There's low, medium, and high. You want medium. It's good for social media and long-term storage. Then they may ask if you want to keep your negatives, which you should. You'll have to come back at a later date to pick them up, but you definitely should keep those for future reference. These scans will look probably really good, especially coming from a lab, even using the super cheap cameras. It'll look great, and hopefully this overwhelming wave of nostalgia will waft over you and drive you to buy more film and take more pictures. Now, if you got a bad roll back, maybe it's all blank, or it doesn't quite look like what you wanted it to, that's okay. We don't want to give up here. It's part of the process. Is a little bit of trial and error. So if something didn't turn out exactly how you wanted to, don't give up. Get another roll and shoot again. I'm sure you will fall in love with it if you just give it a shot. I love shooting film. It's a huge part of my life. I shoot it as often as possible because the look, the feel, the grain, and the texture of the images is just so, it's just so beautiful. I love it, especially that XP2 Super black and white. Ooh-wee, I love that. Hopefully, through all this process, you'll fall in love with shooting film like I have, and then we can be best friends that shoot film together. That would be great. There's just something so special about shooting film, and I cannot wait for you to experience it. Little life update from me at the end here. Brandon and I bought a freaking house, okay? We close on August 24th. We are officially homeowners. It's our first home together, and I'm so excited. I haven't posted a video in a few weeks because of buying a house. It's been a long and arduous process that has taken up so much time, but most of the process is over now. All we have to do is close on the 24th, and we'll have our own house. Now, our own house includes not only a private office for Brianna because she works from home, but also a spare area for myself where I can make these YouTube videos and set up a studio and all that good stuff. So I'm so stoked for that. I really hope you subscribe and stick around because this journey is just getting started, and I hope you come along for the journey.